Digital ladies breaking the chain, rising in crypto, we're changing the game. Crypto frontier, we're claiming our space. Not your keys, not your crypto, know your place. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Key, the Lady K, and RT Digital. Come ride this wave. Digital wealth, we're here to pay.
Crypto nights, we're lighting the spark. As we ignite now, we're setting the mark.
Safety first, we're keeping it tight. Blockchain power, we're shining the light. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Key, the Lady K, and RT Digital. Come ride this wave.
Welcome to Digital Ladies Unscripted, the show that focuses on digital assets and cryptocurrencies from a lady's perspective. I'm your host, Melissa, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Kita, Lady K, and Apti. How are you ladies doing this evening?
Excellent.
Nailed it. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, tonight, guys, we're diving into one of the most exciting shifts happening right now in finance and crypto. There's a surging wave of new national trust bank charters from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, better known as the OCC, and these are specifically tailored for digital assets. These aren't your grandpa's trust companies. There are major players jumping in, from crypto natives to Wall Street giants. We've seen conditional approvals lately for firms like Circle with the First National Digital Currency Bank, of course, Ripple's National Trust Bank, Paxos, BitGo, Fidelity Digital Assets, Stripe's Bridge National Trust Bank, Crypto.com National Trust Bank, and Protego's National Digital Trust Company. There's been 8 in total since late 2025, with more like Morgan Stanley Digital Trust now applying as of February of 2026. And this trend is reshaping how institutions handle crypto custody, staking, trading, stablecoin reserves, and more. But it's going to all be under more solid federal oversight. So tonight, we're not saying we're experts on any of this. We're going to try to break it down. What exactly is a national trust bank? How does it differ from a traditional bank? And what do we think it might mean for the future of digital assets? Would it from better security and institutional adoption to bridging crypto with mainstream finance? So whether you're deep into crypto or just curious about where things are headed, I think this might be a game changer worth understanding. So hopefully you guys stick around. And ladies, are you ready to try to unpack?
Let's go, as Lady K would say.
Let's go. Before we do, Kita, you want to shout out the folks that are in the chat? We already have 21 people watching tonight. Welcome. Who we got in here?
Well, we always have Silver Day starting it off. I mean, he's in there from the get-go. We also have our friend X Lloyd. We also have Archer in the house, Mr. William F.E. Then we also have DCA Crypto Dave is in the house. Tiara is in the house. K-Buddy. Hey, Kelly. Stone is here as well. And I'm sure that we'll have more that'll be joining. And they're also across the board, whether it's here on YouTube as well as on X. And then also we're on Rumble, and we're in a couple of different places. So we're really excited. And we also
IMU TV.
Yes, we're also on IMU TV, which is going out to 48 different countries. We also have Sholo is in the house as well. So they're coming in.
They're coming in, guys. Please repost this out. If you're watching over on X, kind of consider coming over to the YouTube. Join us in the chat. And if you have any questions or comments, put them on all caps, and we'll do our best. But this hour goes by really quick.
We got Daniel in the house.
Let's go.
Oh, yes. Daniel's here. Hello.
And the chat is the funnest place to be. You get to talk to everyone about what we're talking to until the after space.
I know, guys. Yes, I'm going to post the link to the after space as well. That happens at 10:10 Eastern Standard Time on X. So if you are watching from IMU TV or YouTube or Facebook or Rumble, be sure that you click the link within the show notes and join us at 10:10 because it is pretty interesting.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Yeah. So, ladies, I know. So this is kind of a touchy subject for some, exciting topic for others, depending on the way that you look at it, right? But I thought we would tackle this because there is much to do about it concerning these trust banks, these national trust banks, trust company banks, or whatever. And so I thought we would kind of first touch on what it actually even is. And what it is so a national trust bank is also called a national trust company or a national trust bank charter. And this is a special type of federally chartered institution of the United States regulated by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which is the OCC. And it's authorized under the National Bank Act primarily to provide fiduciary and related services, such as acting as a trustee, an executor, investment manager, or custodian of assets, including for trusts, estates, retirement plans, corporate trusts, and even digital assets, as in these recent conditional approvals that we've had since 2025. And then a traditional bank, it's not the same as a traditional bank. The traditional banks offer the full service commercial bank or national bank under a standard charter. These banks engage in core banking services, like they'll accept your deposits, they make loans, they have checking and savings accounts, that sort of thing. And so,
but a traditional bank can have this service, though,
correct.
like JP Morgan does.
Right.
Exactly. So and so this is the thing. This is why I think there's much to do about it, because the traditional banks are kind of threatened by this, right? Because you start having these other banks, these national trust banks, handling some of the things that they would have traditionally been able to only handle, right? Now you've got especially when it comes to digital assets, because these national trust banks have been around for a really long time. And in fact, I think when I pulled up a list, there were like 60 existing national trust banks in the United States. And correct me if I'm wrong, because guys, we are not experts on this. This is just doing some research and trying to bring it to light and start sparking a conversation surrounding it and getting people to kind of think about like where this is all headed, right? But to my understanding, there's like 60 of them. And, those are like your family offices, your trusts, those type of things where they're handling large amounts of money for people and not in the traditional banking sense. So I don't know. What's your guys' initial reaction or opinion regarding this? Because I know you guys had some thoughts backstage.
My initial reaction is like, of course the bank wants to be the trustee, right? Because like that's what a trust bank is. Like you deposit money and then they act as the trustee. So not only do they have the money to spend however they want, then they get to control how it's spent. That's my first thought.
And mine, I agree with what you're thinking, because if we are in this space where we're people that are looking at this as I'm able to have control over my own finances and my own assets, right? So why would I then give it over to another entity, and there's that. There's that side of it. But that's for those that are in it and seasoned and understand it, right? But then you have your people who don't understand anything about this, don't know anything about it, are clueless, and they need some assistance. They need to have something in place for them. make it easy. You know what I mean? Take it out of their hands where all they then have to do is use it, however they, or, live off of the dividend or whatever that looks like, So I do see both sides of it. I'm the queen of saying there's always a yin and a yang for everything. There's going to be some good and there's going to be some bad. I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on their actual understanding of the ecosystem and how it works and the different aspects of it. And if they don't, I think this might be a viable like a viable thing for them. But for those of us that are in it now, I don't know how well that's going to look for somebody that's been in this for a long period of time, unless they're just tired.
You bring up a good point, right? Because banks can custody crypto. That's not illegal. And these trust companies, like if you can put digital assets into a trust. And then if you hand it over to a bank, then that acts as the trustee. That's kind of an interesting thought for inheritance planning or family planning, in the sense of like, if something happens to me, it's already set up and the trustee follows the trust agreement on how to disperse or who the new beneficiaries become and stuff. So that is a good point for people and their planning.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts, Abdi?
I do. My daughter keeps turning on her stuff really loud in the background. My first thought was, how do we make a trust bank? New goal unlocked for we the people. I'm very excited about this. It's one of those things that, like, as soon as I heard Ripple wanted to become a bank, I was super curious about that. And I in my heart, I feel like it's one of those keys that unlocks, a whole avenue of education, path to sovereignty, awareness of, where the money goes, all the education that we never got in schooling. And I'm excited about this show. And I definitely a new goal unlocked. Maybe.
Well, it's funny because, in my Discord, we've been talking about, it's going to be interesting when Ripple becomes a bank. And we were talking about that, like, how many years ago, Melissa?
2 years ago.
It's been a minute since we were like, just wait till Ripple becomes a bank, because that's what it looked like they're going to do. And lo and behold, they went out and they made sure to get their charter.
Yeah. Well, and this is my opinion on it is, I've often said, like, I feel like this changeover of the financial system, the direction that we're going, things have to be handled very delicately.
Yeah.
Assets transitioning into digital assets, right? Where it's got to come from one place to get into another place, right? It's in some form now, and it's going to be converted over when they switch over into a digital asset. And so there's a lot of people that have like the big dollars, right? Mm-hmm. That they're not comfortable like we are. And even if you are comfortable here, you still might be a little worried when you're talking about a lot of money, right? There's a difference between holding 500 XRP or 10,000 XLM or whatever it may be, a quarter of a Bitcoin, than someone who has maybe $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 worth of value in these digital assets, right? Then it becomes a little scary dairy for some folks, right?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
I was just going to say, in that instance, then it might behoove us to have people in the banking system that do understand the digital assets and cryptocurrencies, right? Because TradFi, who knows whether or not they do understand it to the extent that we understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And us that understand it, right? We're still beta testers in all this. They're building the products for us to come in. And there have been people that have made mistakes with their assets, right? Early on now. And like they're not valued at what we expect that they will be here in the future. And so, it would be devastating. Some of these losses that people have experienced over the past couple of years would be devastating if they get to the price points we all think they will in the future, right?
Can you
Now 20,
imagine?
right? And so like while some people are adamantly against any kind of custody solutions and whatnot for people to come in to the digital assets and house their digital assets in that way, I personally believe that the average Joe is going to want a solution like this. And
Yeah.
so I think it is promising that we do have these conditional approvals from at the OCC level for them to become these national trust banks. And so what I'd like to do is to dive in a little bit more about
I
what
just want to add,
Oh, absolutely.
a bank would be heavily regulated. So that would provide some protection there. I'm curious if they would be insured, but even if they are insured, that's only up to a certain amount, right?
Yep.
Are
Well,
they?
yeah, because it would
I-
be FDIC, right?
Well, I will tell you, they are not, and I do have some notes on that that I'll touch on here in a second because that was one of my questions too, Kristen. And so when I started researching this, I started asking the questions like, for these national trust banks that have been around, what are the protections under that they live underneath, and why are these because a lot of wealthy people use national trust banks to manage their trusts, their family funds, 401k plans. There's a lot of funds that are managed by these national trust banks, and they've been around like 100 years. So they're heavily regulated, and they do have different types of protections that are not like the FDIC, but they are very regulated. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about the National Trust Bank. I have some. I don't know if you guys, if anyone wants to touch on any of these, that I have the outline. But if not, I do have the notes that I can kind of just go down the line of what the basic breakdown of the National Trust Bank is, unless someone else does. Or no? Okay.
Go ahead. We want to hear it.
Okay. All right. So these are a special purpose national bank, and they're chartered by the OCC under the National Bank Act, and they focus mostly on trust and fiduciary activities such as custody, safekeeping, and administration. Now, what we just talked about, they do not insure deposits. There's no FDIC, no commercial lending. They have lighter capital requirements, and they have no need for a money transmitter license, or what it says federal preemption over many state laws. For example, no need for 50 plus money transmitter license. They are permitted in the digital asset space to custody crypto and stable coins for staking purposes, trade execution, settlement and clearing, reserve management for stablecoins, and brokerage and fiduciary services. And so they have like the ones that we talked about that were approved. Like I said, you've got Ripple, National Trust Bank, Circle, First National Digital Currency Bank's been approved. Stripe, anybody looking into Stripe Bridge National Trust Bank, type that in and just give a little look-see on that. That one's very interesting to me. Crypto.com just applied and got conditional approval for their National Trust Bank. And some of these other, Morgan Stanley Digital Trust is now applying for this particular type of trust bank. So I think that's really important. And obviously the different takeaway between a traditional bank and the trust bank is that your traditional banks, they take your deposits, they can loan you money, they can make loans. They have heavier regulations regarding capital and stuff, and they're FDIC insured. And so the national trust banks, they only focus on the custodial or the fiduciary activities. They don't take deposits. They don't lend, but they are very regulated. So
Yeah,
I
I
was
see here.
wondering.
I see here that it says there's the federal oversight, but it's a narrower scope, and
mhm.
that it's ideal for secure digital asset handling without deposit risks.
Well,
I
I was
will.
wondering what was the point of being regulated if you can't get insurance? But
Mm.
I just looked it up. So it looks like, although it might not be FDIC insured, they can get other insurance. Like if they're a brokerage, they can get the securities protection, they can get errors and omission, they can get other insurance that protects against like fraud, employee mismanagement, and things of that nature. So there might be some protection.
There's a
You
lot of
know,
protection.
Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, so if you compare it to, say, your 401k plan, so like they have what's called ERISA. I think that's how I that regulates them. But so my short notes. These are special purpose federally chartered institutions that focus on the fiduciary and the custodial. Um, they do act as a trustee for family trusts, estates, or wealth preservation. Um, they're like managing retirement plans as your trustee and your custodian for 401ks, your IRAs. And so, I mean, that kind of brings me to like the I Trust Capital and that sort of thing, and the kind of regulations that they have to adhere to when they're custodying your assets. But I was trying to find my notes on the specific when it comes to the ERISA uh, regulations for it, because they do have to adhere to strict guidelines. So this is not something that is like easy for somebody to screw you out of your money, is what I guess what I'm saying.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying. Here we go. I'm like, sorry, I I had it.
Which part are you at? Because I'm
Yeah.
there with you right there. Did you want me to go through the wave of approvals?
You
Um,
can, yeah, you
RISA
can.
is also a document in the closing of a real estate transaction. So I'm
Is
not,
it?
yeah.
Well, before we go through the wave of approvals, can I just go over the protections
Sure.
part of it?
Of course.
So although they're not FDIC insured, because and the reason why is because they don't accept the demand deposits, and they don't engage in the traditional deposit taking activities that actually trigger that FDIC coverage. So it's a different type of deal. And it means when customer funds or assets are held by these institutions, they generally lack the government backed deposit insurance up to 250,000 per depositor that the traditional banks provide. But these customers for the national trust banks do have several meaningful protections under the federal law and the OCC regulations and the fiduciary standards, especially since the banks primarily act in custodial and fiduciary or safekeeping roles. So they have the key protections for the customer assets. They have to have segregation of assets. So under federal law, under the National Bank Act, and OCC rules, they require these national banks exercising the fiduciary powers. They have to segregate all assets that they hold in fiduciary or custodial capacity from the bank's own general assets. So that means that when you put your assets in with one of these custodians, your assets are kept separate, often in distinct accounts or identified specifically to your account, and it
So it's not
prevents them
on their bottom line, basically.
no commingling or using them
Right.
as their own. Which banks, as we know, we deposit money, then they go and loan it out. They do whatever the hell they want, right? It's a completely different thing.
Mhm.
The other thing is they do have protection from creditors in case of a bank failure. So any client assets that are held in trust, fiduciary or custodial accounts with these national bank trusts. They're generally not part of the bank's estate itself, so they are protected from claims on the bank's general creditors if that institution was to fail. So if Ripple Bank, you go ahead and deposit your assets with Ripple Bank, and Ripple Bank fails, your assets are protected from any failure of Ripple Bank or any of these other ones, right?
That makes sense to me because, and we've talked about this before too, right? Coinbase has come out and said, like, as an exchange, and it's not a bank, but you know, the money is our money. And, or I mean, bankruptcy would see what we hold as our assets, not yours, right? And so your assets would be up for being frozen and whatnot. Banks, it's your money, the bank's holding it, but then there's the insurance there. With this trust bank, it's not their money, and they're not like holding it like as a bank as they took it as a deposit. They're simply the trustee, right? So they're the ones doing making sure that the trust agreement is followed and stuff. So
well, and here's the key there. This is a very important thing. And Keita, you and I had talked about this. I think when I was doing Beyond the Brink, I did a show on this. It gives this. There's a federal statutory lien that gives owners of the funds or assets that they hold in the trust or custody priority as secured creditor. Okay, and so this is the important thing to understand. When you put your money in the bank, and if a bank fails, if you're not on top of it to request, like you're not listed as a secure creditor with your bank deposits. Like,
isn't this what we were talking about those tariffs and about that?
I didn't know. I didn't know you were an unsecured creditor with the bank.
You're not like I'll have to dig up my notes from a show I did like it was spent a couple of years ago. But basically what I discovered is when a bank fails, there's all these obligations, all these priority folks that get precedence over you. And then if you're not on top, if you're not Johnny on the spot and respond to a bank's failure to get yourself in to be down here when all this other stuff is getting paid off, when they fail, you might not even get your money. You know what I mean? Especially if, you know, it's $250,000 FDIC insurance or whatever, but in the event of a catastrophic failure of banks across the board, there's not enough money in FDIC insurance to cover everybody anyway. And then if you're like, you know, what if you have way more than 250,000? What if you have $1 million or whatever? You know, if you're not Johnny on the spot and request and through the proper channels during a bank failure, you're way down on the list. Right. So, I mean, that's something I'm going to have to pull up my show that I did a long time ago on it, because this just like sparked my memory of that. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, well, maybe, you know, this is different because your assets are held in trust. They cannot use your assets. So in the event that they fail, you're a custody priority as a secured creditor in that. And the other thing is,
so that means you're in the top up there along with
your money back. They shouldn't have touched. They shouldn't have touched your money. They shouldn't have touched your money at all. Also, in receivership for uninsured national banks that are governed by the OCC rules, these assets are typically returned to clients rather than used to pay bank debts. So that means bankruptcy remote structure as a core safeguard. Client property remains the client property, not the bank. So, and then also the standard fiduciary duties and standard of care when acting as a fiduciary, as a trustee, like, so if you're thinking about trustee, custodian, investment manager, the bank must adhere to these strict duties. You want to cover that, Lady K?
Yeah, it's care, obedience, loyalty, disclosure, accounting, and confidentiality. Care means that you must take care in the actions that you take for your client. Obedience means that you must follow all lawful requests from your client. I say lawful because, you know, it doesn't go against if you don't follow an unlawful request. Disclosure is you must disclose everything that's happening to your client. Loyalty, you stay loyal and you do what's in their best interest, not your own. Accounting, you account for all monies. And confidentiality, you always keep everything confidential. And the only thing that the care, obedience, loyalty, and disclosure end at the end of the relationship, but accounting and confidentiality remains forever.
Remains forever, providing transparent record and disclosures. They have, and the OCC enforce these. So they cannot just, they have to do the record keeping, the audits, dual control, all of the stuff, the compliancy with the safeguards. So I don't know. It's definitely, guys, if you haven't heard about national trust banks, just do a search on it and like dig in and, ask your own questions. Yep. Opti, I saw your hand.
Yeah. Okay. So I have two questions. One, first thought I had was the Basel compliance that we've been talking about for years. And I was wondering if any of you knew about where Basel 3 and Basel 4 compliance, where they fall into this. Do they touch the trust banks? And then the second question I had was, so how they make their money? So are they making their money just through fees of like the custodialship? Or like what's the incentive for one of these entities or corporations to go this route? Obviously versus the TradFi, but also what's the incentivization? If any of you guys know that, those are my first two questions.
I would say it's the fees for sure. Like, they're operating on the fees because the assets have to be separated. So your assets are your assets. So just like, I trust capital, I put my stuff in there. They cannot touch my asset. Like that's mine, that's in there. They don't charge me any fees, but like say my 401k, they might charge a service fee.
Is there a fee when you remove your money? Is that where the fee comes down? Like where it comes down to? Because I'm pretty sure you guys were talking about that. There was something about that.
No, I don't. I'm not charged a fee to deposit. I'm not charged a fee to withdrawal. I'm charged a fee if I want to swap. Like if I want to, if I buy an asset, I'm charged the fee like you would get charged a fee if you bought it on an exchange or whatever. If I want to swap assets, I'm charged a fee for I Trust Capital. But yeah.
Well, just like if you were on an exchange and you had a transaction, there would be a transaction fee. You know what I mean?
So how are they making money?
Would they make them? I was just about to say the same thing. How are they making their money?
Right?
How are they making their money?
That'll be on tap for the next show, unless Lady K knows.
I'm sure they probably charge like a service fee or something.
Yeah. I mean, I just know I'm just thinking like when I looked up different examples of what current, outside of the digital asset realm, what are the current national trust banks doing? Give me some examples. And they gave me examples of like your 401k plans and stuff like that. And so since I am kind of like an administrator for ours, our plan, I know that they charge fees, right? Like they charge fees on our plan. So I'm assuming that's how they make their money.
This says that they generally charge a percentage based on the value of assets they have under management.
That was what I was thinking. I was going to say it's probably a percentage of how much is there. Yep.
Even even small trusts have a minimum annual fee. And then there's, of course, additional fees like tax preparation and stuff like that.
Advising.
I looked up the Basel. It says if it's a bank charter, Basel does, it does fall under Basel. But if it's just an independent trust company, there's like two categories: the bank chartered, and then non-depository. And
I mean, the whole thing about the Basel III is that they got to have the asset, right? And so when I'm thinking about these National Trust Bank, the fact is they have to have your money. So like
In a way, in a
yeah.
way, in my mind, I feel like the Basel is trying to comply the TradFi, at least in some small component, with non-fractionalized banking, where like they take your money, they invest it, they make so much money, and then they charge you $90 for NSF fees. It's like, uh, this doesn't seem to work in my favor at all. So far, I'm so curious about this. Like, I'm actually quite shocked because I think in my mind, I felt like this can't be real. Like, what I had understood of them up until this point, up until this conversation, like that question, like, well, if they're not using your money because we've been so trained, like that's what banking is, right? You put your money in the bank, and if there's a run on the bank, your money isn't there. Like I'm very clear about that. And so, to learn that there is a banking system being established with digital assets at the forefront that is, basically encouraging self-custody in a traditional mindset for the average person who can't sort of wrap their head around the sovereignty aspect or the self-custody aspect. The fact that it's like a sort of a catchment for that bridge between the traditional way of managing your finances and planning for your future versus what we're doing, where we have the keys and we're in full control. I mean, there's definitely a part of me that likes the idea of having a middleman that's required to for me to authenticate. So yeah, this is very fascinating. Thank you so much for having this conversation with all of us, and shout out to everybody in the audience for being here and being part of it. And don't forget to come to the after space. We can have these conversations.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say. Well, okay, go ahead first.
Just real quick, looking at this Basel regulates institutions' solvency and liquidity. Trust banks hold the assets in a fiduciary capacity, but they're not owned by the banks. So Basel really only covers the banks that are holding the assets,
like the traditional banks, right? Yeah. Yep. Like that's what I was thinking. And so for those of us who just want to invest and we're not going to be using it like a checking account or whatever, I can see where they feel a little bit threatened by this, traditional banks as opposed to, but the only thing I wanted to bring up real quick, is these newer conditionally approved national trust banks that, we're getting a significant expansion on those. I just wanted to mention that one of my actual favorites, Brian Brooks, he is the one that kind of kicked this off starting around 2020 or 2021, where he was the acting comptroller of the OCC, and he began approving limited purpose trust charters for digital asset firms to provide custodial and fiduciary services. So this has kind of been in the works for a while. And of course, I got a little crush on Brian Brooks. He's one of my favorites. So when I saw that, I was like, I got to shout out Brian Brooks, BP, let's go. But anyway, we've got a few more minutes to talk about this. And then I do want to pivot because Abdi has an announcement and I want her to be able to have time to talk about this at the last minute or like at the end of the show. But I wanted your guys' take.
Trisso's question here is very fascinating. I don't know if you want to address it. I have no idea.
Let's see.
Let's talk about it in the after space.
Would they craft a wrap token of your holding and use it? No, I don't think they would be allowed to do that, Trisso. The reason is because it's completely separate. Like they're a fiduciary, a custodian of your asset that has to be held in your own account. Like they cannot commingle the funds. They would be breaking the rules. So I would say no, they cannot do that. They cannot do that. But I wanted to know what you think of the possibilities of what this could mean for the digital asset space in general, in terms of like maybe some of the tokens or coins that we know and love, these especially utility tokens. What are you thinking? What kind of impact do you think this could possibly have on those?
Well, I'm excited about Ripple becoming a trust bank. If this is what you guys are explaining to me, I don't know, that makes me bullish, as they say in the degen world. Very bullish, and also like legitimacy. Being able to the average person like me who knows nothing about anything about banking. And if just watching this show, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm FOMOing. I'm FOMOing into the trust bank. So don't forget your iTrust Capital affiliate link for Melissa Tipito show.
Oh yeah, I gotta find it and post it. You guys, if you haven't considered going with iTrust Capital to open up a crypto Roth IRA, if you use my affiliate link, you get $100 in your account. And I've already tested it out, and it totally works. Like, yeah, it's pretty darn cool. It's like free money. So just saying. But yeah, what do you guys, and you guys have any thoughts, Lady K or Kita?
I think this might be actually really good for like estate planning in a new way, right? Like put your crypto in, one of these trust banks that have been open, that they understand crypto. You've got custody, you've got a trustee to make sure that the trust agreement is followed. It can certainly pass on to your heirs without having to go through probate. So yeah, I think it's definitely worthy of looking at for people who are interested in that.
Absolutely. What do you think, Kita?
Oh, well, this is a lot to unpack. And I think for those that are coming into this, I think that there's, like I said, there's a yin and a yang. For those people that are new to this, I think that they will find this something to be beneficial for them. Yeah. I think even for those of us that have been in this for a while, it very well might be beneficial for us. I will say that there's so many of us that want to be able to control our assets ourselves, but some of us might feel like we want to have a little bit more security, especially when it comes to those people trying to come along and scam and all those things. If it's locked up in a situation like this in a trust bank, then it's not as easily accessible for someone in order to be able to mess with it in that way. So I just think that there's a lot to it, and it depends on your comfortability levels. So yeah.
Daniel says regulations are boring. Can we get back to the Wild West, please? That's funny. Oh, that's hilarious. I think you guys, I will talk about this more in the after space, because there's a lot of different examples, notes and stuff that we can talk about if you guys want to. I posted the link to the after space. It starts at 10:10. But without further ado, I would love Optimistic Prime to talk about, but she has something to announce.
Yeah, I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary of the Blue Umbrella token on the day between days, February 29th, 2024. So we don't really get a real anniversary, which is it's very interesting, actually. It's like I do leap over the day, which was the intention when I made it. And, God basically whispered, like, you must make it today, and it will be the part of the origin story. And so I have only slept 2 hours today, after spending all night making a commemorative video. And right now we have the Remember NFTs that were launched on November 5th, 2025 / November 6th, 2025. And they're on sale until March 17th. Which is St. Paddy's Day, as many of you know. And essentially it replays out what we did in 2024, which was we launched the token. There was 3 weeks for people to send the distributor wallet a certain amount of XRP, and then we distributed 90% of the total supply to evenly. And so it established a base price, and then I bought back, I placed a buyback order at the same price everybody bought it. And that's how I have more than, the 10% that I had originally started with. But just want to shout everybody who's been here. I made this with a dream of finding my magical internet friends. I didn't have the words for it. And I found you all, and I just want to thank everybody who believes in this project, comprehends that the Blue Umbrella token really is the beacon to the entire grandiose vision I have of the wandering footprint. And it's just so crazy that don't forget, tonight is the eclipse. I guess you guys at 6:33 for you, 2026, 3-3. And then for me, it's 3:33 on the West Coast, which is very fascinating to me. And I just had my second business meeting with FML about really grounding the entire project in the business aspect, the things that I have been struggling with for 6 years. And so, yeah, I just really want to thank you all for being part of it. And if we have enough time, if we could play the video now, and then I'll come back to speak a little bit more. But I'd really love to share what I spent all night doing.
Let's go. All right. Hopefully I am going to play this and you're going to hear it. If you don't hear it, tell me right away.
You hear it?
In a leap year's glow, where time bends slow, a token emerged, but its light would grow. February 29th, 2024. Blue Umbrella token was born, hidden but with promises of more. Blue Umbrella token, but it's more than play. Tiny home, shiny show, the year is 28 in May. Space lasers might aim, but they'll be kept at bay. With BUT, we're leaping to our highest timelines day. From the XRP ledger, quantum leap took hold. From the wandering footprint with treasures untold. 2 years on this day between days. February 20th, 2026. The seven sisters dance in the moon's face. Laughter lifts us, but we seek what's true. 2 years later, the blue umbrella vision grew. Happy anniversary on this day between days. Blue umbrellas protect us, but in cars, blue umbrella token, but it's more than play. Tiny home, shiny show, the year is 20 in May. Space lasers might aim, but they'll fade away. With BUT, we'll leap to our highest timelines day. We unite as one, but with sovereign pride.
Come on, next one.
Corruption's beams fall, but we won't hide. From Web3 steps, but we'll ascend. BUT lights the way, but it's truth we defend. So let's laugh at the darkness, let's dance in the light. With blue umbrella token, with truth and with all our might. Planets in chorus, BUT for unity's tune. Our magical internet friends unite on Vancouver Island soon. The blue umbrella, the new tinfoil hat. This is
Wow.
Man,
Beautiful.
unbelievable. Like,
Yes.
I'm crying. Of course,
So
I'm freaking
beautiful.
crying. But you
Oh, did you see you dipped your toe, Melissa?
Did
That
it.
was a cute touch.
I totally I'm blown away, Amanda. It's so good. And guys, I mean, if you're not part of the Wandering Footprint, you totally should be. That was everybody
Mhm.
that has supported the
That was
Wandering
the community.
Footprint. The time that you took, it's phenomenal. The song is awesome. The graphics are fantastic. The fact that you took the time to put everybody in there, it's so
Yes.
freaking cool. It's
I
so
can't wait to
Oh,
see it on
I'm not the only one
IMDb.
crying.
Okay,
Ladies,
I have a
here.
strict
Okay.
rule. Nobody cries in my presence
Okay.
alone. Okay, you have to stop.
Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Listen, I can't wait to
Yeah,
see it. I
absolute
can't wait to
fire.
see it as a video on IMUTV. I cannot wait.
So good.
So good. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you, Amanda. I am so stinking proud of you.
Yep.
You did such an amazing
Yeah, William, that was amazing. I mean, like, that was like everyone's loving it. Like, you got so much kudos. What is it? Really good stuff. I got a tear in my eye. Yeah, like we're all like just freaking blown away.
It was amazing.
Absolutely blown away.
It was such a good show of like the community and all our different personalities under the treehouse umbrella, right? I saw you made it green. Was that for stone? But because I think of it as the blue umbrella, you know what I mean? But no, it was such a good show of the community. It was so good.
Love it. And it's
And-
commemorated forever.
Well, and the other thing is, guys, so Amanda, you want to talk a little bit because we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to post the link there in an XRP Cafe. You know, you have the remember the 5th of November collection that's on a super sale right now, and then they would qualify to get the airdrop. On the
Yeah, so we're doing 3 airdrops this year on each on the equinoxes and on the solstice. We're doing 4, but yeah, I guess we're doing the first one was on last year. So we did it on Christmas last year, and so each NFT represents a portion of the 1% for each of those airdrops. And yeah, it's just amazing how it's all come together because obviously all of these images I had already made. There was a few I hadn't. So that was an extra time last night. Like, oh, I have to make people, you know, the ones that I didn't get to and I couldn't figure out what to do for them, you know. But I took all of the personalized images that I had made you all for your 2026 nomads and put them all together. And I removed that initial, like that you each, you know, each one was like, your NFT that had the number on it. And it's just so interesting because I decided to make, because every year I change the main logo for the Wandering Footprint. And this year I decided to do the blue umbrella. And I was going to do it last year, but I decided that our foundation had to be the Yahweh image. So last year's image was the Yahweh image, the heart, a flame, right? The winged heart of flame. And so this year I decided to do the blue umbrella. So it's amazing to me that I had all these images already of all of your characters with blue umbrellas. So when I had the vision last night of making this commemorative video of each one of you, initially I tried to have it so you guys just passed the umbrella between each of you, but the AI systems I have just kept morphing you into the next person. And I felt like it was really important to define that we are all separate. We're not morphing into each other, but that we're separate. And that's where the tree, and I had those trees already made. And if you notice, the green portal is the portal, you know, the X-meme green portal is the portal into the tree, which is sort of the vision for, you know, what I'm trying to create inside the metaverse and in the tiny home, you know, in the books, the children's books on sovereignty that I want to do. And so it just feels like it all came together. And yes, I haven't slept because it was just so important to me. And like the day between days, like it's missing, you know, and so I didn't want to miss this time to just like commemorate how far we've come. You know, the fact that I made this before I knew any of you. And I love the symbolism of like, it's not me. I'm not the blue umbrella. I'm just holding a blue umbrella. And that the blue umbrellas were what survived the Lahaina fires. And, for me, that's where it really came from, is like Lahaina was the catalyst for me for like what truthing really looks like, and, the uncomfortable truth. But together, we with truth and collaboration and really recognizing that we all matter, and it's funny, when I was made, I was like, well, there's no way we expand double, triple, these will never be made again, like I'm never doing these like individual NFTs for people. Like, this is the year, and it was just so important for me to showcase. And for me, my favorite thing was, every person that comes up, I can tell who they are, and so just thank you so much for being moved. It really means a lot to me that you guys enjoyed it, and that James is obviously cutting celery next to me while I'm on the show. That's what you're listening to. Can't wait 5 minutes. Okay, good. So yeah, just thank you so much for everything, and for all the people that support the Blue Umbrella Token. And just a reminder, if you have the NFTs, the remember NFTs, please set the trust line for the Blue Umbrella Token, or you will not receive your tokens on March 20th, and you have till March 17th. And this is also a friendly reminder, if you have a 2025 Nomad and you haven't purchased your 2026 Nomad yet, you have till March 17th to do that, to qualify for the very first XOM airdrop, which is hopefully going to be the internal token for the Wandering Home Directory 3.0, which will hopefully be fully launched on July 4th, 2026, and be in beta version in the next couple months with help from FML and TrueFi and our magical internet friends. So thank you so much.
If people want to find out more, so there's 154 people watching tonight across all platforms. For those that aren't familiar with your project, what is the easiest way for them to find out all about it?
WanderingFootprint.org. I'm still a little delayed, and the first button at the top is still your 2025 Nomads. But if you click on that, it'll go click here for your 2026, or just type in 2026 Nomad. I have to get on top of the website soon. I do everything myself, so. WanderingFootprint.org. 2026 Nomads are for sale right now. They're 144 RLUSD converted into XRP, depending on the day. And if you have a 2025, you have to just send me a offer for 111, whatever the XRP is, for 111 RLUSD for that day. So you get a discount as you grow. And come to Spaces, come to Digital Ladies Unscripted, go watch the Dip a Toe interview. I did 2 of them here. And I'm on Coffee and Crypto Monday to Friday, sometimes Opti. I at least give updates there. Thank you so much for showcasing this tonight. It really means the world to me.
You're welcome.
You did it. You did it. You did that. And so it's our pleasure to put that out to the world. You did that. For sure.
We got about 20 seconds each to give final thoughts before we have to end and go to the after space. So go around the room here.
Meet us in the after space.
Do it. Huh?
Love you all. Rugged.
Huh?
Let's show. I thought we were on space. Love you all. See you on the after space. Go Opti.
Yeah, just angels on your pillow.
Angels on your pillow. Guys, thank you so much. Come to the after space. It starts in 10 minutes, 10:10 Eastern Standard Time. You can find it at Dip a Toe Show. You can find it on World Be Free. And I put the link in the space anyway. So anyway, we will see you guys there. Have a good night. Great job, Amanda. Love you all.
Digital ladies breaking the chain, rising in crypto, we're changing the game. Crypto frontier, we're claiming our space. Not your keys, not your crypto, know your place. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Keita, Lady K, and Opti. Dip a Toe, come ride this wave. Digital wealth, we're here to pay.
Crypto nights, we're lighting the spark. As we ignite now, we're setting the mark.
Safe power. We're shining.